Man of the Prize, the podcast. It's me, it's Harvey, your host. What's going on? I hope all is well with you. And I'm excited for another fantastic episode. I like to, talk to you first as prepare for the episode. I give a lot of myself when we talk. So you know a whole lot about me. I'm 49. I turned 49 a few months ago. This year, in 2024, I will turn 50. And I am I've got my kids, I've got my wife, but when you 50 is a big number. So, you start to think about, your mortality and family and making sure you take care of your kids in case something happens to you and you're gone. And as Black males, we don't live as long as others. So we have to consider what happens with our partners, our spouses, our significant others, our children. And I've been getting into that mindset lately. Like, what happens if something happens to me? But I think the reason I've been thinking that way, my health is pretty good, but it's because of who my guest is. 50 is just a number. Age is just a number. And we're going to talk about that with my guest. Let's bring this man in. I introduce to you Nathaniel Wilkins. How you doing today, sir?
I'm fantastic and I'm getting better.
That's good to hear. See, that's wonderful. See, every day we get better. That's positive. I like optimism. Like I'm good, but tomorrow's gonna be even better day. So thank you, one, for jumping on here, and we're gonna get into you. But let's get started with my favorite part, the bio.
Okay.
I love reading about him, man. I like just bringing that out. So let's get to it. Nate Wilkins, health and wellness powerhouse, coach, empowers through an ageless mindset. Renowned speaker, author, and co founder of Ageless Workout. Nate's journey from health scare to resilience fuels his commitment to men's preventative health. Certified in diverse wellness disciplines, he inspires transformation with a mantra: manage your condition, don't let it manage you. I like those words, brother. That's a good start. I
Hmm.
ask the majority of the men that I start the podcast with, I read the bio on purpose. And I do that so that I can then ask, you've done so much in your life. You've got so much that you're going to do, but what's it like hearing what you've accomplished so far? What's it like hearing getting your flowers per se?
Well, at this point in my life, while I appreciate that, that's the stuff that I've done, and so I have so much more left. And so, some people talk about when they get to be this age that they're going to retire, and so I'm looking at rewiring. I'm looking at how do I really accomplish the things that I was put here to do because I came here for a reason. And I think about that from the standpoint of the books that I read, and particularly ones that says let's make man in our own image. And so if you're made in the own image, then you're a creator and creative. And so I want to continue to be creative and use all the talents and skills and abilities that I have in me, and they continue to manifest themselves in so many ways. And so I'm not yet done. And so while I appreciate what people think I've accomplished, I've been around so many other people that have done so much more. It makes me feel like I really haven't done that much. I hope that makes sense.
It makes complete sense. And so I'm going to ask you something now because of what you said. Clearly, you have so much more to do. There's so much more you can see. I'm going to ask you now, out of everything that you've accomplished so far, what are you most proud of out of what you've done so far?
Oh my God, when I think about it, and I have to continue to go back and say that I I haven't done all of these things by myself, and there are so many people who have blocked for me and put me in position to accomplish these things. And so I think about the work that I'm doing right now. That after having lost a position, uh, having to go in and turn my life around and be in this position now to do this type of work and to spend the time with kind of the kinds of people that I'm spending time with. I think that's the sort of the major, I call it my highest calling yet.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Hmm.
Before we get into the prize mantra and the questioning there, I remember as I read through your bio here, one thing that was in here, Nate's journey from health scare to resilience. Would you mind, before we kind of get into it, going a little bit into your health scare and telling us about
Right.
that?
Let me tell you what, I don't mind. I don't have anything to hide. First of all,
Good.
that's where some of us have made some mistakes. If you ask me, that particularly as men, and particularly as black men, we don't talk enough about our challenges. And so let me just digress a bit. My first challenge had to do with my heart. I was living in Cincinnati, Ohio. I was the assistant director of Cincinnati Recreation Commission. I was at home. I had some pain in my chest. I had sense enough to know that I needed to get that checked out. I went to the emergency room. They kept me and ran a series of tests. I stayed in for weeks at a time because they can figure out what was going on with me. And I was in ICU, incidentally. And so the word got around to the people who worked for me at the time that perhaps that it was serious and I might not make it. And they would come and look, and they were looking so strange. I was thinking, well, what is wrong with them? So to make a long story short, they released me after a point, and I went to one cardiologist appointment. They gave me nitroglycerin, all of the regular drugs and what have you. And that stuff didn't make me feel good. As a matter of fact, I tried the nitroglycerin one time and it gave me a headache. And so I said, if I can do something else, then I'm not going to use this stuff. And so that's when I started to change my body. But let me just digress a little bit more. What got me into that condition, and that's what I want to say to some people, is all of the other stuff that went with it. The eating out, with my friends late, the drinking of the alcohol and just having a good time. I had ballooned up to somewhere at about 230 pounds. And I used to talk about the clothes being smaller. People then making the clothes smaller. It wasn't the clothes that was smaller. It was me. I was bigger. I just didn't want to face up to that. And so that day, it came home to me. And after that, I started to change my whole life. I started walking, and walking led into running, and running led into taking some fitness classes, and then fitness classes led me into teaching fitness classes, and later on into managing fitness. And now at this point, here I am, telling people, maybe you ought to reconsider what you're doing. So that's one of the pieces that I could tell you about. And then while I was, here doing this work, just around or before the pandemic, I went to my cardiologist, and he said that my prostate was enlarged, and perhaps if it kept going, then what I needed to do was a biopsy. I said, okay, we do the biopsy, and they come back and say that, hey, you have 4 places in that's cancerous in your on your prostate. Um, and so we need to determine what to do. So I immediately grabbed a lot of books, and out of that, when the doctor said that to me, I immediately went to talk to my friends. One of the things I did was schedule a men's health forum, and I gathered all of my friends, and started talking about what we need to talk about this thing because I need some help. Out of that forum, I learned that some of my other friends were having issues with had bypass surgery, diabetes, and to every man who came on there, they had something that they had been dealing with and hadn't talked about it. And so, when you ask me about what are those challenges, those are the ones that I have right now. But I can almost tell you to to this point today that there are other men now coming out and saying to me, look, I've done that prostate surgery, and here's what I experienced. I had some radiation. I had this. I had that. So I open myself up to allow other people to be themselves and to deal with their challenges around that type of health challenge. So I can go on and on, but let me stop right there and answer some more questions for you.
Thank you so much for being open about that. And I appreciate your vulnerability, especially with your health. And the hallmark of being a man, and it's sadly at times being a black man, is holding on to important information and not talking to people around us. We fight going to the doctor, then we fight telling people about what we've heard at the doctor. This stoicism that we carry around instead of being open and vulnerable and talking to our families, to our women, to our kids, whatever. And the fact that you were able to deal with it and then having other men and starting this, that's amazing. Just getting these men comfortable and talking, I applaud you for that. And that's something we all need to do. Um, I'm going to get right into it. If you have not watched or listened to this podcast and this is your first time, welcome. Welcome to the Men of the Prize. And you picked a great one. Nate Wilkins, we're going to have a great conversation. If you don't know what I do, is what I do. The word prize, I take four of the letters from the word prize, and I think each of those words represent good characteristics that I think men should have. And let's talk about it. The first letter in the word prize is P. The word is purpose, reason for which something is done or created or for which something exists. Mr. Wilkins, what is your purpose?
Well, I continue to search for that, but as I matriculate through my life, I find that my purpose is to do all the good I can do, is to because it's not enough. And when I first started, I told you there were so many people who helped me, and so it's not enough for me to take it and just you take it and keep it for myself. So now what I got to do is turn around and help somebody else. Not only do I have to help somebody else, but I have to help my own children. See, first of all, I got to start with myself, my offspring, and help them. And I haven't done such a good job of that. So now I can't pay back, but I can pay forward. So my purpose is to open myself up and to help as many people as I can. But first of all, helping the ones that I help to make, because I can't see them struggle and I do well. So my purpose again is to take what the creator has given to me so graciously and blessed me with and turn that around and tenfold, because the last thing that I want to do when I see the creator is and be answering the question and say to the creator that here's what I was going to do. I want to have a whole litany of things that when you gave me these things to do, I took them and I multiplied them tenfold. I don't want to jump from one foot to the other saying, can I get back to that? I want to have a mouthful to say. So my purpose is to fulfill the mission that the creator sent me here for.
Okay. Okay. When did you discover that was your purpose?
Hmm. Um, so all along the way, and let me just back up and say that my parents were military, and so we were stationed in a place called Mannheim, Germany, and there was a man who was running a place called the AYA. It was a youth association, and he planned all of these activities for us. He took us around, different parts of Europe, and had dances and all kinds of events. And so I saw in him that he was doing all of this stuff, and I said that one day I want to do that same thing. And so all of the years of moving around and getting involved with activities, there were people who sold into my life, and so I wanted to do that. And so through all of those experiences, I got a chance to go to school and become involved with a recreation administration. And then out of recreation administration, I was able to open community centers and do more in communities, and then bigger and bigger. I supervised more people and did more in other parts of the country. So all of that sort of made me or got me to this point. And so I started to realize that I think when I was about 11 or 12 years old, and it just kept on growing and growing. Now, so you know what? Some people see it and know it, as soon as, they hit the planet, right? They know for a fact that they just want to be a doctor or a lawyer. It took me some watching and seeing what other people were doing to realize that that's what the creator had pinpointed me for. But there's so many other things that he's touched me for. I'm a frustrated entertainer. I like to sing. I like to dance. I love people, right? I love to laugh more than anybody else. So I'm trying to take all of those and put them into one and really master that.
Okay. You sound, I mean, when I hear you, and I feel like if I were to describe you, if somebody asked me, like, real quick, tell me about Nate, it sounds like you're a man of service. Like, it sounds like that's what you're here for. There's people who need help, whether it's guidance or just being led in the right direction. And you seem like you'd be the one to be there to help somebody better their life, better themselves in any way. And then on top of all that, not only are you gonna help me with my life, then you're gonna sing me a song about it. Or maybe we're gonna dance to it. And then there's a soundtrack of my life, and it's because of Nate. So you help me become better, and then we're gonna sing together. So you're an all-purpose brother too. So it sounds like there's much to you, but that just sounds like that's just the surface. Um, I want to ask, what's that gonna? I'm gonna come back to that. The next letter in the word prize is R. The word is resilience. Resilience is defined as the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties and toughness. You mentioned something that happened to you before. Is there any other situation, something that has happened to you that helped you define or realize that you had resilience that you didn't know you
So I'm going to get to somebody today. I'm going to touch somebody's spirit and soul today, because when you talk about resilience, I describe myself as the kind of person, if you knock me down, I'm gonna bite you around the ankles to get up. I like to think that I'm hard to beat, and let me give you some indication of that. Um, so I got I got terminated from a position that I look. I'd spent all these years. You're trying to make $100,000, and a city manager in 20 minutes took that whole thing from me, and I was out on my head, trying to figure out what direction I was going to go. I asked him. I said, is there a severance package? He said, there's no severance package or anything. And mind you, I had moved from a place that I was comfortable, because I said, there is no courage in staying, right? You got to grow. And so I didn't know anybody in this city. I had to take what I knew and try to put the pieces together and take little jobs. And sometimes, people like us, we get caught up in our egos because we graduated and we think we were something. And what I realized was that at that point, there was nobody that was going to rescue me. I had to rescue myself. And so I had to put the pieces together. But in that whole process, let me just continue here. In that whole process, as I was trying to feel my way around, I had to move out of apartment that I had rented in the dark of night, right? I had to slip all of my furniture, my clothes out, and go live in a lesser place. And in that, I forgot to change, my mailing address. And I was driving my vehicle, and a policeman followed me, stopped me, asked me for my registration, knew that I didn't have it, it had expired. Rather than just give me a ticket, he impounded the car. and took it to a station. And I didn't have the money to get that out. I had to borrow some money to get it out. But don't feel sorry, because that whole thing turned around. I got another position, and things started to look way up again. These are things with, again, helping people. So I was a manager or fitness manager at a high end spa. I started to help people, and they helped me, and I started to make back the dollars that I'd lost in this position. Not at the level that I was at, but it was better than nothing. You see, here's the thing: our egos sometimes get caught up in how much we make, and so and or who, with the positions, the titles that we have, and so we look for things that are similar to that. But this gave me an opportunity to try something new. So I guess what I'm saying to you is that these experiences that I have, or had, especially sharpened me, gave me a sense that I had to pick up and learn something new and try some new things, if I was going to make it. I'll give you one other experience like that for me. Um, I had taken a position in Cincinnati, Ohio. I rented a U-Haul truck and a trailer because I had my car on there, and I had just enough furniture and clothes in the trailer to go to a small studio apartment. My friend and I, as we're driving into Kentucky early in the morning, we get pulled over by police officers. They say to us, "Hey, you missed that way station." We're like, "What way station?" And so they pull us over into this corner, down in a place, and keep us down there for 2 hours, saying, we're looking for drugs, and we're not looking for the little stuff. We're looking for the big stuff. Do you have any big stuff like that? I said, "We don't have any stuff." And so the guy says, "Well, do you mind if we bring the dogs in and look and see what's there?" My friend said, "Well, I'm going to watch them if you do that." So then they asked me a question and said, "Well, where'd you get that car from?" It was a BMW. "Where did you get that car from?" I said, "I work like you do." So finally, after 2 hours, they give us a little citation and a warning that you go to a way station. We thought they were going to kill us down there. I mean, I could go on and on, but what I'm saying to you is that these things get me to a place that, during pandemic, while I can't go out and work and what have you, I started to get up at night thinking about all of these different problems and how did I get myself in these situations. I was blaming myself. I call that mental health fatigue. I don't know if you know about that. I don't know if anybody else knows about that, but I struggled with that, and out of that, I ended up writing a book. That I entitled the book, "If You See a Turtle on a Stump, Somebody Put Him There: How to Be an Adaptive Navigator." How to get yourself out of these situations when you've been knocked down, how to get up one more time than you've been knocked down and put the pieces back together. So that's my story about, a resilience and, being a weeble, because weebles wobble, but they don't fall down.
Okay. I like that. I like that. Give me a tip, something that a man out there may not readily know about getting up when a situation kicks you down.
I like what Les Brown said. Les Brown said, if you get knocked down, try to fall on your back, because if you can look up, you can get up. And if you can get up, you can get on. How about
Okay.
that?
I like that. I like that a lot. That's positive. That's optimistic, and that's the way we should look at life. I appreciate that. We're gonna skip the I in the word prize. We could come back to it. Z is the next letter. The word is zeal, enthusiastic devotion. I do this podcast because obviously, it's a space for men to talk, men to be open and vulnerability, and just let everybody know what's going on and be comfortable speaking. But there's a lot of men out there who And these are the same men who won't go to the doctor or will go to the doctor and then won't talk about their diagnosis with anybody. They just keep everything to themselves. Here's my question. Do you have something, and it can't be work and it can't be related to family? This is something for you. Do you have something that you do for you when life is stressful, when life is beating you down, when the struggle is real and you're doing everything that you can? And I'm not saying that you're failing, but I'm saying that life is just being heavy. What do you do strictly for you to maintain and not let life get the best of
I come from a long line of people who believe in the creator, um, and you think about the people who go to the church, and so I find my solace in music, and particularly the gospel of music, and particularly the sort of gospel music that has the feeling. It just radiates through my spirit. So anytime that I get down like that, I go and find that kind of music to listen to. One of my most favorite ones is well, there's two of them. I'll tell you. One is called "Order My Steps," because it's really not about me. The walk and all of that stuff is it's the battle it belongs to the Creator. And then the other one is this song called "I Won't Complain." I've been through some good times, and got some bad times. And when I look around, all of my good days outweigh my bad days, so I won't complain. So that's where I find my strength. And the other thing I would say to you is that the scripture in some of the books, the book that I read, it says, "Lean not to thy own understanding," or it also says that, "Think it not strange that you will face the fiery furnaces of this world." So all of these things give me some comfort. So that's the stuff. That's where I find it. How about that?
it. Okay. That's your answer, and I'm with you. I love it. Um, the reason I ask men that is I just in my humble opinion, and I know I need it. I think every man needs something to step to when life can become difficult. Men need something to go to, a place, a spirituality, a feeling, something, so that we know we're not able to really stop the stress. Life is going to be life. But what can I do to get away for a few hours? So obviously for you, it is the book, it is gospel, it's great things. There's for me, it's taken a while for me to get men to even have something. There's a lot of men who just don't have a place at all, who don't have spirituality or music or anything. They just sit and live in this stress, and that's just makes life difficult. And of course, stuff like that affects us physically. We are predisposed for heart disease and diabetes and high blood pressure. Add on the stress of the world and nothing and no outlet to feel better, and it just makes it worse. So it's
Mhm.
always good to have something. And I'm glad that you have something that you do. The last letter in the word prize is E, and the word is expectation. Expectation is a strong belief that something will happen or be the case in the future. Let's say I was lucky enough to run into you right in the morning, right when your day is starting. What kind of day would I expect to have with you on a regular day? Nate is up and about and it's time for business. What kind of day would I expect having walking around with you?
Well, if you are you saying you would start the day with me, or you
That's
would
what
meet?
I'm saying. I don't know. What do I expect? What kind of day am I walking into if I pull up on you?
So if you were coming around and hanging out with me about 4 a.m. in the morning, you'd be up and about, working on your vision for the day, setting your mind right, and then within another 45 minutes to an hour, you would be in the gym getting your fitness on, working out, and getting your mind together, your body and your mind and your spirit together, and then you would run off to do something for somebody else for a couple of hours, and then you find a way to do some some introspective about where you've been, to sort of re-look at all of that so you can go back out and do some more. And then you would find yourself, um, taking another opportunity. Maybe it's a walk, right? Some 12 to 15,000 steps is what I suggest. I try to get that in for myself. And if I can't get 12 to 15,000 steps in, that's not to suggest that I don't do a walk, period, right? So here's what I'm saying, that I shoot for 12 to 15,000, but I'm going to find a way to walk anyway. So if I don't get 12 to 15,000 in, it won't be because I didn't try it. And then I find the time to rest, and you get some rest and relaxation to renew yourself. So by 7, 8 o'clock in the day, man, you're wore out and you're ready to just sit down and grab that planner and look at what you've done, or maybe a book, and read a little bit more about getting yourself into what you want to be the next day. That's what a day would look like with if you were hanging out with me. Because again, I'm going somewhere. I don't know about anybody else, but I'm on my way somewhere else. So I gotta, I gotta be prepared. I gotta prepare for where I'm going.
Okay. I like that. And in there, you mentioned working out, get in the gym and do something. Let's talk about ageless workout. So let's talk about that. Give us an idea of what the concept of ageless workout is, how it started, what it means for people. Get into that.
Well, first of all, the ageless workout is a mindset. It's a new way that people who see themselves in a different way. We have a tribe of people around the world who are like-minded thinkers, right? It is all of those concepts that one would find in what some call the blue zones, right? It is trying to figure out a way, or not trying to figure out a way, but figuring out a way to live your life the way you want to live your life. Looking at what you put in your body, right? Who you associate with. My grandmama taught me back a long time ago. She said, if you sleep with dogs, you're gonna get some fleas. So be careful who you hang around, and what you let come into your environment, right? All these things make up who you are. So it's about developing into the person you want to leave the planet with, and living it to the fullest. That's what the ageless workout is. It is you doing the work at your level. Some people will work out and really, really strong, and we love muscle, right, in the ageless workout, because muscle is the organ of longevity. And so we get into this conversation about longevity and aging, but we encourage people in the ageless workout to do it at your level, right? To be uniquely yourself. And then to really look at stepping out of your comfort zone, be a lifelong learner. I mean, it encompasses all of these things that we think the new age is going to look like. That, sometimes people talk about, well, I'm getting old. Well, that is a mindset in terms of the ageless workout. What we say is we're getting better, right? You're able to make better decisions because you have wisdom. So that's in essence what the ageless workout is. So it's a combination of things. I wish I could let you see. I'm sitting in my studio right now, and we have every piece of equipment that you could think of that would that a person could use to get their mind, body, and spirit together. That's the ageless workout, if you will.
Okay. All right. So the people who end up in this lifestyle, are these people who are coming off of a maybe a health scare like you? Are these people who are just realizing I've lived a life and maybe I haven't lived it the right way and I want to get better? Is there is the anybody can do it, or is it somebody being led to it? How do people get to this lifestyle and then kind of dive into it?
I think you hit the nail on the head when you said, is it people who had a health scare? Because usually that's what happens is that we get scared, right? You know, we start praying to Yahweh, Yahoo. We just pray to somebody. You know, if
Right.
we get a diagnosis and we get a chance to fix it. But it's multi generational, right? It's young people who want to first of all their health to be improved, and then they want to be around people who understand and can walk with them. So if you're going to go to war, as an example, you want to go to war with somebody that's been there, that know where all the minefields are. You don't, and I'm not suggesting that some young people don't know what they're doing, but here's what I know is that a new broom or a young broom can sweep clean, but an old broom know where to go. And so these people want to be around the knowledge, the wisdom, and the understanding. And then some just want to be around, period, because it makes them feel good. And so there's 20% of the people who are like you and me, who are going to do exercise and take care of themselves because we know that's good for us. And there's another 80% that don't want to lift a finger, but they know that they need to do that. And so we invite all of those people to be under the large tent of the Ageless Workout and the Ageless Workout tribe. So there's room for everybody. We want to democratize what it looks like to have health, wellness, and healing at a level that you can do it, right? So that's what it is.
Okay. I like it. I like it. And at the end, we will leave information for people if they want to check that out and maybe get involved. The middle letter in the word prize is I, and it doesn't represent a word. It represents the man that I'm speaking to. So when we take off the shackles, there's plenty of titles that we men carry: husbands, fathers, significant others, employee, boss, best friend, dog walker, whatever. But when we take off all those titles and we are just ourselves, so when it's just Nate and there's nobody else, who are you?
Hmm. Oh my God. That's a interesting question. Who am I when it's just me? Um, this individual that's unfinished and trying his best to put the pieces in place to get to feel good about himself. Let me do it like this. Let me do it like this. And so here's what I'm reminded of. This is when you get what you want and you struggle for self, and the world's made you king or queen for a day. Just go to the mirror and look at yourself and see what the mirror has to say. For it isn't your father, mother, sister, or brother in life whose judgment upon you must pass. The person whose verdict counts most in your life is the one staring back in the glass. You may fool the world over down through the pathways of life and get pats on the back as you pass. But your most fondest rewards will be heartaches and tears if you cheated the person in the glass. And so what I'm saying to you is that I don't want to cheat myself. I want to get everything out of me that I can. So I'm this complicated individual, and hard to wrap my arms around who I am myself on some daily basis. And so putting all of that into one piece and being uniquely myself and being okay with that, loving who the perfect essence of who I am. That's who you see, a spirit having, an earthly walk. How about that?
I like that answer. There's no wrong answer to that. So, but I want to ask, I want to stick with that. You mentioned unfinished. are you able to be finished? Is there a finish line in determining who you are, or is that a continuous, never-ending journey?
You know what? I'm so glad that you asked me that, because I'm actually trying to reach out to some people and make some connections with the conversation we're having. And I thank you for opening up the door for these conversations. And so what I'm saying to you is that I've been miseducated. I've been misinformed. I'm not been encouraged to live up to my full potential. And so, in order for me to be who you're asking me to be, I have to dig a little bit deeper and work on this, work on inside my inside man, and not worry so much about the outside. Let the outside take care of itself. But because if I take care of this, the outside will actually develop. And so, no, at 70 years young, I'm not done yet. I'm not finished. I have so much more in me that I need to get out of me. I mean, it's so crazy. And you ask me, well, why'd you get up at 4 o'clock in the morning? Because I can't sleep, because my mind is racing, and I got to get up and go do it. I got to go put the pieces together, because I've been taxed. I've been asked, what did you do with what I gave you? So no, I'm not finished. And I want to say to anybody else that's listening, you're not finished either. And if you think so, you need to rethink that.
Like that. We should always be reaching for something more. There's always something else.
More
You
and
know,
more.
more and more. You're right. We're looking down that road of life, and there should always be something to reach for. If you ever get content, I don't know what you can really accomplish being, I'm good with this. But you should always want it to be a little bit better. So, and by the way, 70, excuse me, brother, you look 70. I don't believe that, but
Yeah.
you look fantastic.
I was born
Um,
in 54. Let me just say this. Let me be clear.
yes, sir.
I'm talking about. I'm grateful. I'm blessed. I'm highly blessed and highly favored. I'm grateful for what the Creator has allowed me to see and do. But what I know is that I come from the Creator, and the Creator has asked me to do so much more. And so that's what I want to do. I want to fulfill the promise, and I want to encourage other people to look at it and think about it that way. And if you don't, that's up to you. That's just my take on things.
Okay, I see that. All right. Thank you for answering the questions in the prize mantra. I appreciate that. I have a few more questions, and then we'll kind of narrow this down. I ask a lot of men who do accomplish a lot of things. And one question I've been starting to ask is this: do you prefer to teach or to learn?
Hmm. Well, let me ask you this question. Why do you have to? I think I prefer to learn, but I also like to teach. And the reason why I'm saying it that way is because we all learn differently, right? In
Right?
order for me to really grasp something, I want to learn it. I want to be in bigger spaces with people who are bigger thinkers than I am.
Right?
But I also want to then, whatever they've given me, I want to take it and teach it to somebody else, because when you teach somebody else, you got it,
Mhm.
right?
It's true.
So I want
Yes, sir.
both of those.
All right. I asked that because, and you're completely correct with what you said, but there's some people who like that get joy out of teaching somebody something. But for me, when I teach somebody, I have kids, and, I coach men and such, but when I teach you something, I gain something from it also. So it doesn't have to be one or the other. It can be both. And when I teach you and I see how you respond to it, I teach you something and I see what you do with it. I learn with it. I teach you how to feel better about yourself, to have better self-esteem. But now you have this self-esteem, and now you run and you do something else. I learned from that. It's simple. How I express something to you and how you respond, I learn from that. It's a wonderful feeling to gain something, but to know that you help somebody get something. So,
Absolutely. Let,
yeah,
let, let me make it. Let me make you laugh here. So we don't know what we don't know, right?
right.
So I'm reminded of a time when I used to say I didn't like okra. You know what okra is, right?
I'm
It's this,
Haitian. We love okra. Oh, no doubt. Mhm.
but I didn't like it because it looked slimy,
Right.
and and so somebody was saying, well, why don't you try some okra? I said, no, I don't like okra. So one day this lady was fixing some food, and I didn't see her fix the food, and she put okra in the food,
Right.
and she gave me a plate of it. Man, that stuff was tasting so good. And she said, now, did you say you didn't like okra? I
Mhm.
said, no, I don't like okra. She said, you ate it up. You ate it just like you loved it. From that day on, I said, I'm never gonna say what I don't like because I fell in love with okra. I eat okra day and night now. How about
Okay.
that? Does that make it
I
that make you laugh?
I like that. I like that. That's a good answer. And the whole "we don't know what we don't know," it's an important distinction. Acknowledging that we don't know makes it easier for us to learn. We're open to new experiences. We're open to these seeing and look at you. You didn't know about okra. Well, you did. You thought you knew. And then
Right.
when it was presented to you properly, then you really found out.
Yeah, yeah,
And that might be a good analogy for life in general. It
mm,
might be some people, they work out or they don't work out. I don't like the idea of working out. I don't like the idea of doing that. But it just takes somebody to show me the right way.
sure.
Show me a more palatable way to do it. And I hope maybe that's what happens with the business, with the Ageless Workout, and just with your mission to help people in general. So I love that. I love that description there.
Mhm.
Two more questions because I
Sure.
love these random podcast questions.
Fire away.
One, yes. What are you afraid of that you cannot control?
Hmm. Um, so there's so many things that I'm afraid of, but one is flying. I'll get on the airplane, but I can tell you that there's no stranger feeling than being on an airplane and having it drop, uh, from where you are, five, 600, 700, 800, 1,000 feet. Because you're
Mhm.
grabbing and holding on to something, and while you're
Right.
holding on, you're there. What you gonna do?
It's falling with you, yeah.
It's so you might as well start praying. But that's one of the fears. And so when I get on the plane, I try to make sure I go to sleep. I say if something's gonna happen, I'm gonna be asleep when it happens. But I think even when you if you go to sleep and it starts to drop, right?
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah,
you
that
can
feeling.
feel that. But that's one of the fears that I have. And then the other fear that permeates my mind, and I hate to think about it, is and that's why whenever I see people, I try to make sure that I give what I have. But being homeless and sleeping on the street, I mean, that's a fear that I have. That there goes me, except for I've been been close, but I've never been homeless and sleeping out on the street. So I know what that can feel like, because I see people, and you never know what put them in those situations. So those are two things that I could go on. I try not to have fears about stuff. I try to put myself in stepping out of my comfort zone and experiencing some new things. But maybe one other one, because you triggered some thoughts in my mind. I was in the Navy, and I went in the Navy to see the world. I didn't go in the Navy to go out on the ocean per se, but I did. I was out on the ocean, out in nowhere, and we were at night there, and a typhoon hit the ship from both sides, and the ship was just rocking, rocking.
Mm,
And I thought, well, this is gonna be like the Titanic. It's gonna turn the ship over. And finally, we did get out of that storm, but there was nothing like it. I've never had experienced anything like that in my life. So one of my last fear that I think would bother me is being out in the middle of the ocean and a boat turning over, and I don't know how to get out from under it.
I
That's it
hear
for me.
that. I hear that. That's scary too. What are you afraid of that you can control?
Mm. we've been talking about my potential, right? Or my, using what the Creator has given to me. So I'm afraid of overstepping and being full of myself, right? So I can have so much success, and then people can fall in love and celebrate me and tell me how good I am. But I told you that I took a position one time, and all of a sudden somebody snatched it right out from under me. So it's getting so far up and being, being in a position where you fall down. So managing my mind and making sure that I'm not so full of myself. I want to, being humble. I want to control that I'm humble, that I'm lucky, that I'm blessed, that I have or have had the opportunity, and that it came from somewhere other than me. I'm not so great. I'm really a small thing in the universe when you think about it.
I appreciate that answer. My last, and not even a question, but I'm going to leave this to you before we get into where people can find you. Um, is a man listening to this right now who's kind of teetering with life, struggling with whatever it is, his mental health, his physical health. He's not really sure where he's going. He's not sure of his direction of life. He's not sure about anything. If he were to run into Nate Wilkins, what would be your words of wisdom to this man right now?
But what I would try to encourage is that there's going to be, again, there's going to be some times where we have struggles, right, and it looks really really dark. But if we can just hold on for a little while longer, you can see things improving. I remember going through some sickness as an example and thinking that this was the end. That all of us fear death, right? I told you I had that prostate cancer, and I went to four different doctors, and somewhere in there found out that the prostate cancer was what they call Gleason 6. And so, in a watch and wait situation, I thought that was going to die, because most black men uh, die from, if they let it go so far, that they die from prostate cancer. But
Right.
I made it through, and I'm still standing here. So somehow you gotta find it within, go inside yourself and find it within yourself. And sometimes it's just soul searching, and sometimes you got to be willing to, and I tell you, open up and talk to somebody, find somebody else that you can talk it out with, and tell them what it is that you're doing, that maybe they can help you find what it is that you need. So if you don't have a problem with death, or as an example, if money, if it's not, if it's money that can solve it, then you can overcome all of that. But I think that what I would say is that I would encourage the person to do some more soul searching, and go back to some, if they got family, because that's the place that we all can go back and be who we are, or find some other places that are positive, and find that encouragement, and just one step at a time get back on track, one little bitty step at a time. Don't try to get it all in one bite, right? um, I think that's what I would do. And then, the last thing I would do is say, how can I help? How can I serve? How can I help you? And
That-
that's it.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for this conversation. I loved, I heard so much, learned so much from you, from life and how we deal with it. Where can people find you? Social media, website, anything you got going on? Where can people find Nathaniel?
Yeah, so it's social media. So it's the website is agelessworkout.com. Then on Instagram Ageless Workout Method, right? Ageless Workout Method, because that's the tribe and that's the way we do. We talked about the exercises, and then there's my personal brand, Nate Wilkins Changing Lives, right? On Instagram, on Facebook, right? Nate Wilkins Changing Lives, and then let me just tell you, in March, I'm going to be speaking at a live long conference or summit here in Florida, and I can make that information available as well. So I'll be talking about the ages workout concepts and what have you, with some of the biggest thinkers around longevity and aging. So I'm going to be living out the rest of my time looking at how do we make that concept work for all. So yeah, again, I do. Of course, I'm doing this podcast with you, but I'm going to set up my own podcast as well. So it's again on Facebook and Instagram, and then I even have a YouTube page. It's Nate Changing Lives, or Nate Wilkins Changing Lives. So those are the places that you can find me.
Right. Thank you for all that information. I know if you're watching or listening, you didn't have a chance to write that down. It'll be in the episode notes. I'll leave all that information so that you can find him. Thank you so much for talking with me. Thank you so much for opening up about your life and everything that you've done. And I know that I just caught you at the beginning of so much more to come. It's been an honor speaking with you. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
No, no, no. I appreciate you for doing this type of work. It's a beautiful thing. It's a labor of love, and I wish you much success. And if there's anything I could do to help out, please reach out to me.
Oh, feeling is mutual. Let me give you one more minute here. Thank you for watching, listening. This has been a great conversation. I love getting to with other thought people, with other people who are doing things, who are continuing to do things, who are at the beginning of a great journey. This was a great conversation with Mr. Wilkins. We talked a lot about where we are and what we're going to do. No matter your age, no matter what number you're carrying around, you are still at the beginning of a journey. There's still much to be done. I don't want you to ever get content. There's so much more that you can do. You may not even know what you're going to do yet. You may not be there. So no matter how old you are so close to finding out what your purpose may be. So enjoy life, appreciate life, and keep looking for things to do. Keep looking for ways to improve. With that said, you know how I end this podcast. Every time I do this podcast, because I want men to be comfortable speaking. And we talked about that at the beginning. Nate talking about his health struggle and not talking to a lot of people. And when he finally did talk to people, there were so many other men who were going through things but had kept it to themselves. So I want to say to you, you are an incredible man, a wonderful person. And you can't keep that to yourself. There's people around you who need to know you, who need to meet you, who are happy when they've met you, who are happier when you're around, when you show up. So you have to show up. So stay with us. Be here. Do so many things. Accomplish so much more. Try. Always try. And finally, never forget that you are a wonderful man. No matter what other people may tell you, you're special. And you are the prize. See you next week.